All right, here we go. Part 2 of solving linear equations. All right, so it's just most of it is the same. We do have a couple different situations that are going to be just a tad bit different, but the process is the same, okay? All right, so here we go. The first thing that we're going to do is combine the like terms, all right? So on one side, so we can't take what's on the right side of the equal sign, combine it to the left side in the first step. So what we're going to do is we're going to combine 3 plus 7, or 3y and 7y, that's 10y minus 11. And we're going to bring the rest down if we can't solve anything on the right side. The goal, remember, is to get the variables on the same side. So what I like to do is to make sure that the y's are going to stay positive if I can. So I'm going to do addition property of the 6y on both sides. And I got 10y minus 6y. That leaves me 4 y's left. Subtracting 11 to equal 9. So now I'm trying to, once again, try to get the y's by itself. So I'm going to do addition property of equality. I end up with adding 11 to negative 11 gives me 0. 4y equals 20. Then I'm going to use the division property by dividing both sides by 4. And y would equal 5. And then you can check it by replacing the y's with 5 and seeing what you get. All right, so on the next one, it's a little messy, but I'll read it to you. It is 9a plus 4 minus the sum or the difference between 7a minus 2 equals a plus 6 times 6 times the sum of a plus 1. And so what the first thing we're going to do is try to solve inside the parentheses. Can't do that. No exponents. Then we're going to multiply, right? So we're going to multiply this negative 1 to 7a. So that gives us negative 7a. Negative 1 times negative 2. That's a positive 2. So we're left with, we got 9a. Then we're here. Hopefully it's not too small. Please zoom in if you need to. Then here we're distributing, multiplying as well. We have 6a plus 6. And then that's a plus 6. All right. So what we're going to do now is combine like terms. 9a minus 7a. That's 2a, right? 2a. And then 4 plus 2 is 6, if you don't remember that. And then we combine like terms here. This is 1a plus 6a, 7a plus 6. Now remember, as I told you before, I want to get the a's on the same side. Okay, so we're going to, and I want to make sure that the variables are positive. So I'm going to start over here because I can subtract 2 from 7 to make it a positive number or a positive variable, right? So that cancels out. I'm left with 6 equals 5a plus 6. Then I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and I'm left with 5a equals 0. Kind of weird, right? But we're not done. We divide both sides by 5, and a equals 0 because 0 divided by 5 is 0. And sometimes your answer will be 0. Okay? And you can just plug that information back in to the problem, and you get the answer to be equal on both sides. All right, so moving on to continuing solving linear equations part 2. Now, on the last video, we talked about how to eliminate or cancel out the fractions, okay? So in this part of the video, we're going to talk about how to cancel out or eliminate decimals from an equation. So for example, here's the problem. I guess this is like example number 3 for us, right? We have 0.05a plus 2 times the sum of a plus 3 equals 0.1. And as you can see, they have decimals. Now, decimals can also be written as fractions. You can also go ahead and solve it as a decimal if you would like. Some people like to get rid of the decimals. So the way that you get rid of the decimals is that we're going to write it as, I'm going to rewrite it as a fraction. So you have 5 over 100, because this is a ones place, 0 hundredths. That's how I know that it's 5 over 100. A, or 5 hundredths, because it's 5 cents. And then 0.2 a plus 3, sorry, I got to rewrite this as 2 over 10, and this is 1/10. All right. Now, let me erase this up here. Okay. So just like I talked about previously like I said in the other video, if we want to eliminate the fractions, all we have to do is use the least common multiple, or in this case, the least common denominator. So it would be 100, right? So we would distribute the 100 to everything that is not in parentheses. So 100 times 5 over 100 gives us 5, okay? Or we just 1, 2, right? We'll place value over 2 times because it's 2 place values. 1, 2, okay, plus 2, and then 1, 2, that equals 10. All right. So then, as you see, now the decimals are canceled out, and so we have to say, can we solve parentheses? No. Any exponents? No. Multiplication? Yes. We're going to do 2 times a, 2a, 2 times 3. All right. It's positive 6 equals 10, and then plus 5. All right. So then when we get here, right, we still want to isolate the variable, but we can't because there's problems to solve. We got to add 5 and 6, which is 11. You remember that from back in the day, or even you may have done it recently. So then we have to do, so we combine like terms, and then we are going to subtract using, the subtraction property of equality. That's 2a equals 10 minus 11, that's a -1. Divide both sides by 2, a is going to equal -1/2. Okay. And of course you can check that. Oops. I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? Okay, I was going kind of fast. Oh, this right here, that's what happened. I didn't do 20. I did that part right. And this should have been 20. So let me go back. And if you would have checked, you would have seen that it was wrong as well. That's why it's important to check your work. So this would have been 20a plus 60 equals 10. There we go. So then what we have is, this is a, right? Y'all probably caught that, but I missed that. So this is 25a plus 60 equals 10. Subtract 60 from both sides. That is your subtraction property of equality. That's 25a equals -50. Divide both sides by 25. And a equals -2. All right, so as you can see, the teacher makes mistakes, but at least I did go back and correct that for you. All right. Now this is going to be interesting. I remember when I started looking at the next type of problems, and realized this information about no solution or infinite solutions. It's like it's not more than one solution. I mean, it's more than one solution that we could have. So let's look at this. 11w minus 9 equals 5w plus 2 times the sum of 3w plus 1. Okay, so anything that we can solve on the left side or the right side, there's nothing that we can solve. Okay, as far as in parentheses, exponents, no multiplication, so we're going to distribute. 2 times 3w, 6w. 2 times 1, 2. We rewrite. All right. So we combine like terms. That's 11w plus 2. 11w minus 9. Okay. We're going to do 11w minus 11w. Notice what we get. You get 0 minus 9 equals 2. Add 9 to both sides. You get 0 equals 11. And these do not equal each other. And also notice that the variable is gone away. So because of that, that's going to be called empty set. It's going to be written empty, or null set. Okay, so there is no answer to this problem. Isn't that something? Like a problem that you don't have an answer to? Does that sound like real life? Or do you get all your problems right? Do you have an answer to all your problems? Maybe. So here's our next problem. It's not a lot of room in it. Okay. So we're going to combine like terms. 7r plus 15. 7r plus 15. What do you notice? So we're going to subtract 7r from both sides. Then subtract 15 from both sides. 0 equals 0. What this means is that there are infinite solutions, meaning that any number that you put in the place of r will make this statement true. So infinite solutions, also known as all real numbers. Okay, would be your answer. So the first problem we solved, there was one solution. On this one is usually you're solving for a variable, and that's your one solution. So if if a variable equals a number, and that means that there's only one solution. If your variable cancels out and the left and the right numbers do not equal each other, that means that it's an empty or null set. If both sides do equal each other and the variable is canceled out, okay, then it's all real numbers, means any number would satisfy that equation. All right, let's look at some word problems. And you know, word problems gave me problems, and I get it. You know, people struggle with word problems because we don't really talk in this way on a regular basis. All right, so what I've come to do is to explain to you how to kind of process the information by writing it out. 9 more than 9 more than twice a number is 15. Okay, so 9 more than is plus, twice is 2. Twice is 2 times a number equals 15. So you've written out your equation. And then it says to solve and find out what the number is. What is that number? Okay, so we would subtract 9 from both sides, and we would end up with, I don't want to use too much of my marker, this cancels out. We end up with 2n equals 6. What do we do here? Divide by 2. The vocabulary word for that is division property of equality. N equals 3. And we can plug it back in. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 9 is 15. And that's your answer. And it takes a whole lot to get used to. You just have to practice it over and over again. As I told you before, I taught myself math in college, and it's because I practice over and over again. I need to get that in my head that the more that I practice, the better that I get. I tell my students that all the time, but then when I'm working on certain projects, I want to rush, you know. So here's the next one. What is 2 less than 7? Like, what if even if I ask you that, right? If I said, what is 2 less than 7? What would you say your answer is? Would you say 2 minus 7? And then you say, that equals -5. Well, is -5 2 smaller than, or 2 less than 7? Right? If I had 7 and then 2 less than that would be 5, right? But how do I write that as an equation? It's 7 minus 2. 2 is less than the 7, and that equals 5. Okay. The next one is 5 less than, it's going to be pretty lengthy, then 3 times a number, I'm going to use all my ink on this one, is the same as the number increased by 7. Woo, that's a long one, right? That equation is pretty lengthy. All right, so 5 less than, so we know that it's going to be 5 less than 3 times a number. 3 times a number is the same as the number, same as the number, same as the number, increased by 7. Oh, sorry. Same number. Increased by 7. Okay? And then we solve it. We can start either place, but I'm going to subtract n from both sides. I get 2n minus 5 equals 7. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite it over here. 2n minus 5 equals 7. 2n minus 5 equals 7. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. That's 2n equals 12. We divide both sides by 2. N equals 6. All right. Voila. Voila. Okay. And of course, you can always check it. All right. So that's all that we have for chapter, or this lesson, the second lesson in solving linear equations in part 2. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, and share. And you have a good evening. Thanks for driving with Mr. Glenn in this lesson of driving math. Man, I gotta work on that outro, okay? And I'll do better next time. And cut. Let's try it again. So, thank you again for tuning in to Driving Math with Mr. Glenn. Bye.